Grantland presents Bill Don't Lie.
Hey everyone, welcome to Bill Don't Lie. It is a Monday morning here in Southern California. I just got back from WrestleMania. Wow, what an event. WrestleMania 31 lived up to the hype, and there wasn't even much hype because I don't think people were expecting much, but I thought this was one of the best 5 WrestleManias that I've seen, and I've seen all of them. But that's not why you're here. You're here for basketball talk. We promised in the iTunes description that we'd have experts, we'd have ex-players and coaches, and we'd have buddies with no credentials whatsoever. Here's one of them. Joe House, how are you?
That's my corner.
Yeah.
That is my corner. Buddies with no credentials whatsoever.
I would never have a buddy with no credential whatsoever on before you on Bill Don't Lie. You were the first one.
Give me some ground rules now. I want to know one important thing, for instance.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects?
Oh, always. And and just like the other podcast, my phone's going to go off in the background. I'm not going to do anything about it either. So we got that going.
And what about the weather? Did you talk about the weather yet?
I did. I said it was a sunny day. So we got all that. It's
a sunny day in Jamaica. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, you're in Jamaica. That was
right.
good. And I
had the
opposite. I've heard good things about Jamaica.
Has there been an international Bill Don't Lie yet?
No, this is the first one.
Nice.
This is great.
This is why you should have buddies without credentials on.
So the old Joe House wouldn't have gone away during the NCAA basketball tournament. I just want to point that out.
Well, the old Bill Simmons wouldn't have gone away during the NCAA tournament either.
I know. Well, I don't really like college basketball that much anymore, but this turned out to be an awesome tournament. And as always, I feel the same way about college basketball that I do about the real world. It's a feeder system to the sport that I care about. The real world is a feeder system to the challenge. College basketball, a feeder system to the pros. Towns really showed me something in the Notre Dame game, which was the classic example of this happens in college where you have the big favorite and those expectations, and all of a sudden the kids look like they're 18 and 19 and 20 years old, and the pressure and all that stuff. And Towns came through. Did you see that game?
I did see that game, so that is my only regret. We are now at the point in the tournament where the games are good, and we're seeing a lot of teams with kids with NBA talent. So this is exactly the right moment to start watching games from beginning to end. I saw both of the Wisconsin-Arizona game and the Kentucky Notre Dame game from beginning to end all the way through. Enjoyed very, very much both of them, and really, really, really impressed with Town.
Yeah, so I'm still sorting out my feelings on this draft, and I swear this is going to come around to an NBA conversation. I don't want people to feel like they've spent their money wrongly, incorrectly, even though this podcast is free. But I think we know what Towns is for the most part, and we know what Okafor is for the most part. Okafor is just going to be a great post-up player. I don't know if he's going to bring anything else to the table. I mean, he might learn to do other stuff.
I've seen him face the basket. I feel like he has an 8 to 12 footer.
Oh yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, like, is he somebody that will be able to protect the rim? Is he somebody that will be able to defend the best, bigger player on another team? We haven't seen that. It looks like, even though he's a totally different player and is built differently, they almost like how Brook Lopez has succeeded in the pros. He's a specific skill. He needs to be double-teamed. That's what he's good at. He'll have nights where he'll go for 30, 35. He can score it with either hand. That, to me, is his worst-case scenario. And I think he could do that right away. Like, let's say the Knicks drafted him.
Yeah.
I feel like they could post him up next year, and he would be confident.
I love his footwork and both hands work. He has what looked to me to be very soft around the rim with both hands, and kept, and it's tough to get a read in college because the kids defending guys with size like that. Anybody who is ambidextrous, they have to guess which side he's going to go to, and so it's why I felt like I was watching Towns get so many easy ones. Because his defender was trying to guess whether he was going to go left or right, and each time the kid was cooked, his defender was cooked. But I like very much the footwork and the hands, and that's an immediate translation to me.
So I think people thought Okafor's short thing skill was kind of a trump card in the Okafor versus Towns thing early on. But people that I talked to and respect were telling me, like, you got to wait to the tournament. Like, Towns is kind of coming on. He's a better all-around player right now, and he's a better offensive player than he showed. That team has a lot of, the team just has so much talent. It's really tough for somebody to stand out. I kind of feel like Towns might need to. He might have pole position right now.
Oh, I think he does have pole position for two reasons. First of all, for the reason you just described, it does seem like we've barely scratched the surface in terms of what he's capable of. If he's sort of the go-to guy, he has more, I think, games this season where he's scored under double digits than over double digits. But the thing that is also the case with Towns is there was a maturity thing. I read a funny quote from one of the Harrison twins that they used to, early in the season, they were calling him Carl Kardashian.
That's
because
funny.
He was not responding well to being fouled and wanting calls to go his way. But everybody is now giving him credit for showing that kind of maturity and a little bit of emotional stability, and they all recognize that he probably got hit on a half dozen of those easy baskets he had, and they didn't call a foul, and he was man enough to go ahead and finish.
So this draft's starting to shape out a little bit because Justice Winslow, by the way.
Yep.
What happens there? Titus has been pushing. Mark Titus, who writes for Grantland, who's done an excellent job during the tournament and has a very good column up today if you missed it. He's been kind of pushing the theme of why not Winslow for number one?
Oh.
Like, why not? The NBA has gravitated toward this era where perimeter guys are the most important guys in the sport. And you just go to, just look at all the MVP guys right now. The only guy who's plays even close to the basket is Anthony Davis. So,
and you wouldn't say that the Knicks are all set at any position, and you wouldn't say that the Sixers are all set at any position, although the Sixers, you'd probably want more of a perimeter kind of guy than a backcourt guy.
Oh, we know what the Sixers are going to do. As part of the Sam Hinkie Ponzi scheme, as Rafe Bartholomew called it. We know what the Sixers are going to do.
What,
they're Emmanuel Mudiay waiting. No, they're Mudiay waiting to happen.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's fine. That makes perfect sense for them.
18-year-old possible franchise guard who might need 3 to 4 years to develop. Sounds great. Send your season ticket money now.
It really is alarming. You and I had this conversation, I think, on a podcast a couple of years ago when the crazy Russian bought the Nets and immediately decimated the team. I said, that guy's got so much money. He should offer the good people of New York, New Jersey free tickets to the entire season for what they're offering. I mean, the Sixers ought to offer everybody, 2 free years of season tickets the next 2 years.
So, just quickly with the NBA draft, interesting subplot here. The Lakers have 53 losses. They're 19-53. Orlando has 52 losses. They're 22-52. The Lakers pick is top 5 protected. If Orlando's smart, they won't win again this year. If the Lakers are smart, they won't win again this year. But they have they're 3-7 in their last 10 games. They'll look competent from night to night. If the Lakers get into that 5 spot and they get jumped by one team behind them, they lose their pick. It goes to Philadelphia. So the Lakers have 50. They have 8 games left. They need to go 0 for 8 with these last 8 games. They can't win another game. You just can't. I guess they have 3 less wins than Orlando, so they're probably pretty safe at number 4. But you have New York, Minnesota, Philly, and the Lakers are your probable top 4 unless somebody jumps them.
I had the
this
Lakers
feels
at having 10 games left. Don't they have 10 games left? They played 72
Yeah, because
so
I
far?
can't add. You're right. The Lakers have 10 games left. Orlando has 8 games left. I looked at that wrong. Yeah, I'm old. Yeah, so I assume the Lakers would try to take somebody who was a little more ready now, right?
It does seem like it, because that was definitely the direction they went with the pick, the Kentucky kid, this most recent
Right.
year.
So, they have Randall coming back next year.
Yeah.
They have, we're guessing, a top 4 pick, maybe 5th. One last year, Kobe, and a ton of free agent money.
Right.
And if they get to keep their pick this year, then it becomes top 3 protected next year, which makes it much easier to lose. So my guess is that they're going to go all in and try to get 2 big free agents next year. They know the cap's going to go up. You can spend the money this year, and then you have even more money next year to get somebody else. So in my head, I'm thinking Okafor.
I like. Why isn't? What's wrong with Okafor? We've been calling everybody with that last name Okafor for years now.
No, I hate when I have to. Anytime it's left up to the person to do the pronunciation correctly, I'm going to lose. Okafor or Towns, I'm guessing they would jump at either of them.
I agree.
Moutier's too far away.
I agree.
I don't see them doing that. And Winslow's like an interesting X factor for them.
So to me, it's either Winslow or Cauley Stein is the right selection for the Lakers.
So do we think Cauley Stein's that high now?
I was so impressed by his defensive instinct. I just think he is a guy that's immediately ready to play NBA level defense. He's a project, capital P, on the offensive end, but guys that can defend, you can help them find offense.
Right, he can defend 5 positions, which I don't know if he can defend 5 positions in the pro, but we've already seen him defend 5 in college.
Yeah.
So if you think about like how much of an impact Draymond Green's had on the Warriors because of his ability to kind of go all over the place and kind of solve whatever problem you have defensively. I think that bodes well for Cauley Stein. You know what's interesting? I think if the Celtics had promised him they would have taken him at 17, he would have come out last year.
Wow.
From what I heard. Word in the street.
That would be a good guy to have on that team that the Celtics are building.
Well, you know my plan for the Celtics, right? I just want us to load up on Kentucky dudes and kind of become Calipari East.
Sure.
For when Anthony Davis is a free agent. I think that's the best plan we could have.
Sure, I like that.
We make Worldwide West a special assistant to to Danny Ainge, and we just start loading up on more and more Kentucky guys, getting ready for AD.
Who do you have now?
Well, James Young.
I guess that's a start.
It's a start.
Need a few more.
Need a few more, but we got one. So anyway, who's the four? Oh, Winslow, and then it seems like it tails off a tiny bit.
Yeah, I agree.
But who knows? Like that, who knows? That Porzingis, from foreign country that I can't remember right now. Maybe that guy climbs in. Maybe
I know
D'Angelo
absolutely
Russell.
nothing about him.
Maybe D'Angelo
I just
Russell.
know that his first name is Kristaps.
Yeah, Kristaps. That's not. That doesn't bode well. But I remember way back when you and I making fun of Dirk Nowitzki's name.
Well, I'm foreign player shy after the experience I had with Jan Vesely in the 6th hole.
It's not fair.
I just feel like I'll never have a good read or good feel for it, and I just shouldn't say anything about any incoming foreign player. I just see guys like Jerry and Grant, and even the crazy performance Sam Decker had on Saturday. I loved it so much. Those are guys like, I know who they are. I know what they do. Kaminsky, right?
Yeah, I think D'Angelo Russell and Winslow are the only two that could climb into the top 5.
Yeah, sure.
Right now.
Yeah, I'm not talking about any of those guys climbing in. I totally agree.
I'm just saying, like, for second tier, I don't know. I mean, these guys do workouts. Like D'Angelo Russell going to a workout and have like the famous Penny Hardaway workout, and all of a sudden teams are moving around trying to get him.
Yeah.
Hey, Sam Decker, Titus brought this up in his column about the rule of comparisons where you can only do same color. So Sam Decker, everyone's comparing him to basically every white guy who ever existed. But he didn't mention Matt Harpring.
Oh.
There's a little. I think he's potentially a better offensive player than Matt Harpring, but kind of the same body type, right?
Definitely same body type. The only thing, I feel like Decker might be a hair more athletic, like he could play some defense.
Oh, he is.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I was thinking either Matt Harpring 2.0 or Rich Man's Matt Harpring. I haven't decided
All right, I like
yet.
Rich Man's Matt Harpring. Sure.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, the range is comparable. Harpring was a more polished offensive player in college.
Right. When he came out of college, I think we all thought he was going to be better than he turned out to be.
We still had. How long was his career?
He was solid.
Yeah.
He played for like 10 years. Started
I
for
would look at,
one of the AI teams.
If we're doing these white guy comparisons, Austin Crocier, could be a ceiling. That guy had a long career.
Well, I like to go the other way. I always like the cross racial comparison. Is one of my favorites. That's why I was really excited about Okafor and Brook Lopez. I really went off the map with that one. So last thing we should last college thing.
Yeah.
So this guy Darnell Valentine on Michigan State.
Yep. Denzel, by the way.
I mean Denzel.
Yeah.
I called him Darnell Valentine because Darnell Valentine played in the late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
Yet another old guy moment for myself.
We are two middle-aged white guys. So I'm not doing any cultural misappropriation. I'm not doing Yaman or Irie or any of that stuff.
So
stay away from that.
He's a second-round pick. According to Draft Express, he's like in the 40 range.
Uh-huh.
Too small. Doesn't really have a position. I feel like I've seen this play before.
I've heard it before. I've heard some of those complaints.
Yeah, I feel like I watched this play with Draymond Green like 3 years ago, and then watched him fall into the late 30s. And if the criticism for somebody is that they're 2 inches too small, and that's all you can come up with, then you're on my radar at this point. Because we've seen that is the recipe for stealing somebody who goes 12 to 15 spots too late.
One comp I saw that I liked, that I think holds some water, is Danny Green. He's virtually the same size as Danny Green. He's like 3/4 of an inch shorter and maybe like 3 or 5 pounds heavier.
Right, but he can make that makes sense because he makes threes. He's made a lot of them this year. I just think he's tough, and I like those Michigan State kids in general. Like you draft a Michigan State kid, you kind of are getting a certain type of kid.
It does seem like it. Adrian Payne's had some good games this year.
Yeah, I'm not giving up on him. I thought it was weird that Minnesota gave up a first-round pick for him when he was in the D-League, but it just
you
seems
didn't like that? You think Minnesota made a mistake?
Yeah, that was weird. But the thing is,
in terms of the comp?
Flip Saunders traded Kevin Love for Andrew Wiggins, so he gets to make like 10 bad trades in a row now. Nobody can say anything.
That's a good point.
But I just like the Michigan State kids.
Me too.
I think they're just tough. I think Draymond, the success that Draymond's had, and when you look at the stuff people said about Draymond coming out of college and what he's doing now, should make people rethink the Valentine thing. And I really hope he falls into the second round. I hope the Celtics take him. And I hope people measure him and say he's too short. Jalen was like, yeah, too short. Not going to make it. Like, so now Jalen and I have another bet on this. So this is like our 90th bet. Yeah. But I don't know. I just like him. I think you can we always talk about this. It's easy to overreact with college hoops, especially in the tournament.
That's right.
And
that's what we do.
I've had some misfires. Yeah, but that's what we do. But I think the one thing you can learn is the competitiveness, toughness thing. You can just see it with certain guys.
That's in those Michigan State kids.
Yeah, it translates. We know it translates. We've seen it. So, but by the way, I think Izzo, I realized this probably a couple years ago, and then it gets reinforced every year, and then I forget. I think Izzo's my favorite college coach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like, if I had a son who was like a McDonald's All-American, and all the different coaches were coming after him, depending, like, I guess it would depend on what type of position they had.
Yeah.
Or what type of position he was or whatever, and what kind of offense, all that stuff. But I just feel like you can't go wrong sending your kid to Tom Izzo.
It does seem he's absolutely been successful at creating a reputation for himself of not just giving kids basketball values and basketball skills, but it does seem like you get some character also along with it, which kind of makes you feel good as a parent.
He raises tough basketball players who overachieve, who play in big games because they always do well in the tournament, and just seem to be prepared for life afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like every single kid is going to come out and not have any missteps. I mean, Zach Randolph did play for him.
Yeah.
But, it does seem like there's a type, there's an Izzo type of kid.
I'm going the other way. I think he kept Zebo in school.
Okay. That's a great point.
One other guy I like is, and I know he's going to end up falling 10 spots too late, and I still believe in him, is Harrell in Louisville.
Who?
I think Montrell Harrell.
Oh, Montrell Harrell. Got it.
I think he's going to rebound in the pros.
Okay.
I just do. I just think, like, his worst case scenario, he's an energy rebounder off the bench who's going to have a PER that seems too high. He'll be like ninth in PER. Nobody will be able to understand it. Like, how's this guy ninth in PER? He plays 15 minutes a game.
Yeah, I don't have a feel for him yet.
His worst case scenario would be Thomas Robinson. But I think he's tougher than Thomas Robinson.
That's kind of a middling scenario, isn't it?
Well, if you're drafting him 17, 18, like that's probably like your average outcome, right?
There you go. Right. Good. Okay.
Was there anyone else you liked?
No, and I have even less of a feel for this draft than kind of normal because of the forecast is for 3 or 4 or 5 players who play foreign
That's
leagues or foreign origination, and so I just don't have any feel for it.
That's why I didn't care if the Celtics, like, if they make the playoffs. I'm not convinced that we can't get as good of a player at 15 as we would have gotten at 11. It seems
I totally agree. Maybe even at like 8.
Hey, do you want to make fun of the Knicks with me?
I'm always happy to make fun of the Knicks. It feels like keeping on now. I mean, what is there to say? Let's do it, though.
Well, I think it's funny that the Knicks fans are in total denial. I have multiple Knicks fan friends, and they range from either hopeless to in denial to no, it's going to turn around this summer.
What does in denial mean for a Knicks fan? Let me understand what you're talking about here.
In denial means people who thought Phil Jackson was going to have an impact. People who think that there's a world where Jim Dolan can own a successful NBA team that succeeds year after year. I would say those people are in denial.
Wouldn't you say it's just impossible to have a perspective at this point so far in terms of the tenure? How can you possibly know what the Knicks are going to be under Phil Jackson?
Well, let's just look at what he's done. He hired Derek Fisher, who is one of the 5 worst coaches in the league.
But isn't he in a fail situation? Isn't the point to fail, and he's the perfect person to fail?
Well, if you want to fail, what you should do is you should run the triangle, an offense that was created a million years ago and peaked in the 1990s before people shot 3-point shots and played with pace. You know what offense I don't want in 2015? The triangle. It's antithetic to everything that's happening in basketball. It's the dumbest offense you can run.
Unless you have a transcendent player running it.
They didn't have first of all, they gave away Tyson Chandler. Like, if you're just going to be like, oh, Phil hasn't done anything. I mean, it's like, no, he actually really screwed up the Tyson Chandler trade, which for some reason nobody ever mentions. Mozgov fetched 2 first-rounders. Right?
Mozgov fetched. But look, those 2 trades happened at 2 different points in time. The thing that the criticism is correct for the purpose of why did they trade him? Huh?
What?
Why they trade him when they did? The timing is the thing that deserves the criticism.
Okay. Why did they trade him when they did?
I don't have an answer.
Why do you trade him when he has the least amount of value he's going to have? You basically traded a quarter for a nickel and 4 pennies. Basically, was that trade. And if they held on to him, they should have known. He's in a contract year. Or he was in a contract year when they were thinking about trading him. Not that expensive of a salary. And you have all these contenders, and you have all these teams that had expiring contracts. Like, there was no way they weren't going to do better than that trade if they'd waited 5 to 6 months. Like, that was a complete misunderstanding of how the league works. They just panic traded him, and they panic traded him for a reason, because they were worried Carmelo wouldn't resign if Tyson Chandler was there. I know that 100%. Because Tyson Chandler ripped CAA and Carmelo CAA, and that made Carmelo mad, and then it became a thing. So they gave him away. They also gave away Iman Shumpert with J.R. Smith for nothing.
Well, those 2 trades happened at 2 radically different times in the season with obviously, altering trajectory on the fly being the dynamic on the Smith and Shumpert thing, right?
Yeah, but they had options with J.R. Smith.
Is a failure, huh?
They could have just stretched him out. You don't have to give him away. What'd they give him away for? If you want to get rid of J.R. Smith, just stretch him out and get rid of him.
Well,
don't give up Iman Shumpert just to get rid of J.R. Smith. What the hell is that?
That's what they did.
I know.
That's what it is.
All right, so they had 2 assets that they literally got nothing for. They got nothing. And if anything, they got stuck with Jose Calderon's contract, which they couldn't trade last deadline.
It was curious that they couldn't move that. That was kind of funny.
He's playing terribly. Then you have this coach who's running a triangle, who's a mannequin, who doesn't move on the sidelines, just sits there with his arms crossed, stands there with his arms crossed. Like, they could have had any coach. They almost had Steve Kerr.
I don't think there's any. Well, talk about avoiding catastrophe. I don't think it matters who the coach of the Knicks was going to be for this season.
Well, imagine if Steve Kerr took that and didn't take Golden State. Ugh.
It's unimaginable for Steve Kerr.
All right, so here are the Knicks' assets right now. They're going to have a top 5 pick. They have cap space. And they have Carmelo Anthony, who's coming off knee surgery. And he was past his prime now. He's past his peak. He's been in the league. This will be next year is his 13th season. 13 seasons. Coming off knee surgery. And then they're going to throw in some rookie. And they're going to try to overpay a couple free agents so they can be more competent. I don't know. And you got Phil Jackson. I guarantee Phil Jackson isn't going around at all the regionals the last couple weeks, right? I bet he's not at the D-League playoffs checking out talent.
I'm sure he has emissaries out there. All I can say is what you've just described is a recipe for a dish that I am not inclined to eat, which is really saying something.
And I don't see in this day and age how anybody can say that big markets matter. I think out of all the teams, I think LA matters a little bit because of just living out here and, the celebrity part of it and the business part of it. I don't know if I think if people feel like the Knicks are just going to keep losing.
No, this is your Boston DNA. New York is still a place. This is your Boston DNA won't let you. New York is still a destination.
It's a destination.
11 times out of 10.
It's a destination, but it's not a destination if people feel like it's a hopeless situation where you can't win. And I think they've hit that point.
I'm not sure, right? It looks like a rebuild. How is it any different from what Philadelphia is doing?
They've won 1 playoff series since Jim Dolan took over, basically.
It's not good.
I think they've won 1 playoff series this century.
But
this is way beyond a rebuild,
trying, right? That the team that with Amari and Melo and the completely unexpected, reinvigorated
J.R. Smith.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, they won one playoff series, and then they
for
lost
30
in 6
seconds,
to the Pacers.
they won 49 games that season.
Congratulations. That's the highlight of their century so far.
That's true. But that's hope. I mean, that it can happen pretty quickly.
I don't think so. All right, let's say they get Kevin Love this summer. And let's say they draft Towns. They have Kevin Love, Towns, and Carmelo. You like that team? Where am I going with that team?
I like the idea of going to see that team because it's so interesting. I don't like that team for the idea that they're going to win a lot of basketball games. Calderon's still there? Has to be.
I would trade Carmelo this summer if I were them. I'm not normally a fan of trading superstars, but if you want to do this, to do it correctly, you move Carmelo for assets, and you basically try to do what the Celtics just did.
I totally agree with that.
I just think you use your top 5 pick, you use your cap space, you make some smart bets on younger players that you try to get at a slightly better price than they're worth, and you do it slowly. But I don't think they will. I think they're going to try to
see that kind of move gives the impression that there was somebody sitting at the helm here who is playing chess, right? That has a long view about the prospects for success and the kind of team you're trying to build. A Melo trade, I think, gives off that smell, right? Rather than the smell that they're smelling right now,
which is feces.
That is a bad smell.
The Tyson Chandler trade tells me that your theory is not accurate, because anybody who knows anything knows that they could have done better than that deal.
It's hard. It's a tough one. It was tough to comprehend when it went down, and it's still not easy to understand. It's
always amazing to me when people don't realize sometimes that somebody's going to have more value than they do in the moment. And I think Flip Saunders gets a lot of credit because he could have. I can't believe I just said that sentence, by the way. But he could have he could have panicked and traded Kevin Love for Boston's poo-poo platter offer that I was hoping they were going to take, right? Like here's a Brooklyn pick. Here's the Marcus Smart pick. Here's some expirings. Give us Kevin Love. And to his credit, he said, you know what? I think I can do better. I'm not going to trade him right now. I think the market's going to evolve. He was kind of probably secretly hoping for that Wiggins pick. And that trade he made for Kevin Love was one of the better trades anyone's made.
It's going to work out terrific.
All right. Your thoughts on Kevin Durant and how Oklahoma City handled his broken foot?
Well, I feel torn. I saw that you criticized specifically Scotty Brooks. This was in a private email thing we were doing. Anyway.
Oh, thank you. That's all right.
You criticized Brooks for playing KD, and
in a private email to you. This is going to get picked up in a sports blog now. Simmons private email thrashes Brooks.
Anyway, well, you're on record as criticizing the organization for the way they handled KD. This is the point you've made before, you're making now. So what's the difference?
Well, I was just operating from 40 years of NBA history that said don't rush somebody back who has a broken foot. They rushed them back, whether they want to admit it or not.
Think about all of the competing pressures that are coming from all of the motivations that the franchise has, that the player has, that the commercial sponsors have.
Great.
Everybody's made a great big investment in the first place in KD and his success, and then by extension OKC's its window, right? You've done a lot of treatment on teams having windows. This is definitely OKC's window, and there's definitely a concern that window could be closing. So there is a lot of pressure for everybody on the one hand wanting to make the very best decision for the player, but on the other hand also having that player play. And so we're in an era where doctors are giving their very best advice and their very best assessment of a player's fitness. The players themselves are having a role in their own fitness to jump out and play. And
great. That's a great
some guys
idea.
get it wrong.
Yeah. All sounds great, except for the 40-year history we have with broken feet.
It's a bad history.
When Doug Collins, who had a similar Jones fracture, I can't remember which part of his foot, but when this is all going on and he's saying, don't rush him back, I lost a year of my career. There's just too many people that got rushed back. And they can say he didn't rush back, and they can say he was 100% and all that, but obviously he wasn't because his foot, he's now in his third surgery. And I don't know. I remember I was on a Grantland show. It was either the first one or the second one we did on the TV show. And we were trying to figure out if Oklahoma City was actually going to miss the playoffs. And at the time, I sketched out like this whole plan for here's where we think Westbrook's going to come back and here's where we think Durant's going to come back. And on the show I said, and they won't bring Durant back till Christmas because there's no way they'll rush him back. They're too smart to do that. And then he came back, I think right after Thanksgiving. And I don't know. I just don't know what's wrong with taking an extra month when we have so many foot horror stories. I don't care if it's his Jones fracture was slightly different than MJ's Jones fracture. Like, remember the Bulls took they held out Jordan for 64 games. It was a little more serious, the foot injury, but this really bothers me.
I don't think the conundrum is, you don't know whether the player is ready, right? The medical science only takes you so far in terms of giving you the level of comfort and assurance that the player can go back and play and ready versus not ready. So D. Rose took off a whole year and came back ready, didn't he?
Yeah, but
his
body
got hurt again.
Here's the difference, though. Durant had a screw in his foot.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he broke his toe and it healed and then it looked like his toe again. Like he went from having a foot that didn't have anything in it to a foot that had a screw in it. And I don't understand how when they say 6 to 8 weeks, like to me that means let's wait 10 weeks. Let's wait 11 weeks. And maybe he hurts the foot anyway. Maybe the surgery didn't go well. Maybe they misdiagnosed something. But when you're talking about the reigning MVP and one of the best 5 players of the last 10 years, I don't understand why you're not cautious. And now you look at like Westbrook, one of his surgeries last year got a little wonky. Ibaka, the knee surgery, he came back sooner than he was supposed to come back last year. This is a real pattern, and I've read on the internet, like I read a great thread on Reddit about it, about should we start looking seriously at how Oklahoma City's handled this stuff. I don't have an opinion either way. I just know that in the moment it felt wrong. It felt like he was coming back too soon, and it felt like they weren't listening to 40 years of history.
Well, you and I have no visibility whatsoever into what the players themselves are saying. We have no idea what KD himself was telling the team, telling the trainers, telling the doctors, and what he showed them in the time leading up to appearing back on the basketball court, how he performed. And I think, let me be clear. I'm never want to be a guy that looks like he's defending anything that OKC has done. But, in this instance, they're incented to protect him and to be cautious. And if the player himself is saying, I feel great, let me go, and the doctors are saying he looks fine, let him go, and the only way to know whether or not that screw is going to be able to withstand the stress and duress of playing in NBA games is for the player to go play in those NBA games, and I can't really criticize the outcome. I can't use the outcome to criticize the decision-making.
I mean, that's a very good case. The one thing I would say is I don't know if you can trust the player when it's somebody as competitive as Durant in a situation like they were in, because they had such a bad first month, and it really looked like they might miss the playoffs unless those guys didn't come back, right? Westbrook's superhuman. He's, like the freaking guy has a dent in his face and can go out a minute later and play. Yeah. It's just like we can't even count him. But with Durant, I'm sure he felt real pressure. He's the leader of that team. He was watching what was happening. They were falling apart without him, and he wanted to get back on the court because he didn't want another season to slip away. And I don't know if that's the right kind of incentive, because
I totally agree. You're talking to a guy who watched Robert Griffin III essentially have the Washington professional football franchise enable him to waste one of their seasons.
Yeah,
because he came back too soon because of this, his inability to process what was in his own best interest.
Well, I think Robert Griffin's a really good example. Went back. The playoff game is a much worse example than this Durant thing because he went back in when he was hurt and they made it worse.
So he shouldn't
and then
have
they rushed him back too soon.
He shouldn't have played the first 8 games the following season.
No, but that's the thing. If you're relying on the player to tell him how he feels, and they're a competitive person, they're probably going to fudge the truth a little. They're probably going to, they're going to ignore signs that are there. They're going to convince themselves whatever reality they want to happen is the reality. And if
I agree, but everybody, like I said, it's not like he was doing it in a vacuum. Folks were watching him, right? They watched him in practice. They watched how he moved. They were doing some form of stress test, you have to believe, behind the scenes in the run-up to him getting back on the court.
I know, but it's wear and tear, and it's feet. And you're talking about somebody who's 6'11", and his foot might feel fine, and 5 minutes later he might land on somebody's foot or whatever. I just don't see the upside. Like, why not just keep him out?
Yeah,
Or why not get the more complicated surgery? Because this bone graft surgery that they did, or that they're doing now, surgery number 3, why wasn't that the initial surgery?
Well, you should have, somebody with some hoops doctor in the background to give you, a breakdown of that.
Look, I'm not professing to be an expert on any of this. I just felt in the moment that they didn't seem like they were being careful enough. And if it was my team, I would have freaked out.
Yeah, I hate it too. And we were ourselves having conversations saying, it would be fine if they kept him out until the All-Star break, as far as I'm personally concerned. Right.
Yeah.
Why not? Exactly. You have to let the feet heal. That's the 40 years. That's the advice Coach was giving, right? And you
Coach
and I
had it. Coach last year. Coach's son lost a year too. Chris Collins. It's the same situation. Came back too soon.
Yeah. Well, so what we root for now is everybody's learned a lesson. He'll take the 6 months and not the 4 months. The rehab will go great. He'll come back 100%, and next season's going to be a great season for him.
Yeah.
Right in time to come to Washington. What?
I don't. Your case got hurt there with the GQ, that GQ feature that Zach Barron wrote, where it sounds like it'd be too much of a hassle for him to come back to Washington.
Oh no way, not possible.
Oh, we were talking
very
about
hassle-free.
We were talking back quickly to what we were talking about, New York destination.
Yeah.
Here's where I stand on the whole destination thing, because I really don't think it's that important anymore. These guys, they're on the road for basically from October through April, May, or June, depending on when they get knocked out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're traveling the whole time. They're barely home. It's not like they're coaching their nephew's JV football game on Wednesdays. Like they're not home. They're living out of a suitcase. And if they're home for maybe a week. You might get 2 times a year where you're home for a week. And when the season ends, they all go to one of the following places. They go to California, they go to Las Vegas, or they go to Florida. And that's where they go. Like half of the NBA stars that live in LA during the summer.
I've been hearing this. I had no idea.
So if you're Anthony Davis, I want to be in a bigger market. Like, why? You're going to be famous wherever you go. Kevin Durant is one of the 3 most famous players in the league. Westbrook, I would argue, is the most popular player in the league right now. It just in terms of actually Curry is. I think Westbrook's Westbrook's in the top 5 at least, but it doesn't matter where these guys play. It doesn't matter that Curry's in Golden State. It doesn't matter that Durant and Westbrook are in Oklahoma City. These guys are global. So who cares?
Yeah, I think more than anything, it's being with franchises that are willing to go all in as often as possible to try and create winning teams. And
you just
and
agree
New York
with me.
and LA both have those reputations. New York has not been as successful over the last
you just made my point. I win. You made my point. These players want to go where they can win. We do not have any evidence the Knicks can win.
49 games a couple years ago.
You know, I think the Dragic thing, you know who's the secret alpha dog of this whole thing is Miami. Look at that, how that Dragic thing played out.
It's not even a secret, really. They're always, as long as Pat Riley is alive, they're alpha dog.
I was figuring this out. So you go back to the mid-'90s, right? They get Alonzo Mourning and they get Tim Hardaway. And then they got, in 2000, I think they got Eddie Jones and Brian Grant, the two biggest free agents. Everyone thought they're going to Chicago or wherever, and Miami gets them. Then 2004, they get Shaq.
They got Shaq.
2010, they get LeBron and Bosh. They get LeBron to leave his hometown to play for them.
Yeah.
And then this year, they keep Bosh, who's going to go to Houston, where he would have been the favorite to win the title. They keep Bosh. Then they get Dragic. Like, Miami is the alpha dog.
Pat Riley is the Machiavelli boss. I can't even get it out. That's Pat Riley. That's Riles.
Guess what? I'm signing with Pat Riley in 6 months. Make me an offer, Pat Riley.
You have a contract that's coming up. Yeah,
Miami.
Miami. Look, I support it. By the way, Florida has no state tax, no state tax, and you in Miami means a lot of trips down south for the house.
I'm gonna run Heat.com and be the sideline reporter for their games. I'm in. Make me an offer. But I think we always say, "Oh, Lakers, Knicks." No, it's Miami is the team that everybody looks at, and I think the Lakers still have real sway, and I think what nobody wants to admit is really nobody wanted to play with Kobe the last couple of years. It's been an open secret, right?
Well, look. They entered the season with Kobe, Dwight Howard, and Steve Nash, and the idea was, that was going to be the next 4 years. And at the time, it was not a bad idea. It wasn't a bad plan.
Right. And Dwight Howard fled, and Steve Nash faked a back injury the last 2 years, so he didn't have to hang out with Kobe Bryant. I know for a fact. He told me. He told me at dinner. He faked this whole thing. No, he didn't. I'm kidding. But I think the Lakers are always going to have a little extra because the Lakers have a track record of over and over again being able to land big.
They do. They reload successfully quickly.
Hey, you know what I was thinking? Somebody sent me a great email about this. I apologize that I'm not giving you the proper recognition. Person who sent me this. The Laker fans always talk about, if we had gotten Chris Paul, what a great thing that would be. Are we sure Kobe, Dwight Howard, and Chris Paul would have been a winning threesome? That just sounds like a personality quagmire. Those three guys would have gotten along. Are we sure? Are we sure those three guys get along?
Look, I know that the point of the book of basketball was chemistry, but there is a symbiotic relationship between chemistry and success in the sense that, like, everybody will give something a try if it seems like it's going to produce W's, right? I think everybody would have sublimated a little bit to figure out whether or not that thing was going to work. They would have given it 20, 25 games. And CP3 is such a dog. He's so good. He's such a little D-dog. I mean, his defense is so good, even at this stage of his career. I really think that would have been an interesting experiment. I really think that could have worked. I'm not prepared to say it was going to be a failure.
All right, let's take those guys one at a time. Would you have wanted to play with Kobe Bryant in the latter stage of his career?
This is a different argument altogether.
No, just yes or no question. Yes or no.
The answer, without a doubt, is no.
Okay.
I'd like to touch the basketball.
Would you have wanted to play with Dwight Howard at any point over the last 4 years?
I wouldn't. Well, I was going to make that. That would have been a dumb joke.
Was it about his kids? Oh, okay.
Maybe not. I'm leaving that one alone.
Okay, good.
Look, Dwight Howard's a rim protector. I could see myself playing with him. Yes, I have no problem with Dwight Howard.
Really? Okay. He likes Grantland, apparently.
He doesn't need touches either, by the way. It's been demonstrated.
You would have loved to have played with Chris Paul in certain ways. Would you have wanted to be his teammate? Would you want to be yelled at by him?
I think it's worth it. All he does is drag teams to 55 wins. Now, the playoff success is a different story, right? His playoff record is not exemplary as a team leader. But
Okay.
you never have any question about, is he motivated to win? Is he trying to get W's?
Remember in college, Sean O'Neal, who was the best pickup point guard we had in college.
Yeah.
And everybody loved being on his team. If you're on his team, you just ran and you knew you'd get the ball, and it would just be a really happy experience. I wonder if it's I don't know if it's like that to play with Chris Paul. I think you're a pawn in Chris Paul's game. It's because Chris Paul's like, we're going to do what I want to do at all times, and you're going to follow my instructions, and if you do, it's going to turn out well for you, but don't just do what I tell you to do. No?
So winning 50 games every year that way is kind of worth it, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying, I think the way people talk about Nash, I think it just would have been, imagine how much fun it would have been to play with Nash from like 2004 to 2010.
Yeah.
Like, what better life experience and basketball experience could there have been?
Amazing. Just an amazing run. And so it's always a bonus to play with somebody who's a fierce dog of a competitor and also a nice person, but they're not required. Christian Laettner dragged Bobby Hurley to heights that Bobby Hurley on his own probably never would have achieved. We just learned from that great 30 for 30.
Oh, thanks for the plug. That was really nice of you. I actually think Chris. I
thought
like
that was
Chris.
super interesting that Laettner was a dick, but his dickness was important to that team's overall success.
It wasn't represented enough in that 30 for 30, but we all marked out for that Duke team before it became fashionable to not like them. I remember being in a bar. What was that terrible bar in Worcester that we were all Timeout? Watching that Duke UNLV comeback, or like when UNLV was supposed to just go back to back and Duke did the Hoosiers on them. And let me tell you something: there was nobody rooting for UNLV in that 200-person bar. I mean, I think they eventually became bullies. You and I both loved the Fab Five. We loved Loyola Marymount, and we loved the Fab Five.
I loved UNLV too.
Yeah, we did.
I loved Arkansas with Todd Day.
You did love the 40 Minutes of Hell.
I sure did.
You were in early on all the controversial teams. Wait, what were we just talking about? Oh, Chris Paul. So, I don't know. I think he'd be fun to have dinner with on road trips, and I think you're a pawn in his game. Is my takeaway. I don't know how that works, but the point is, I don't know how that works with Kobe and Dwight. I think Dwight would have been fine with it. He just would have ordered Dwight around, told Dwight where to go, and whatever. But I just can't imagine him and Kobe playing together after watching Chris for 4 years.
Well, they did. How many didn't they play together on at least one Olympic team and maybe two world teams?
Does that count though? Like Kevin Love played crunch time for us at the 5 in the 2012 gold medal game.
I mean, it counts in the sense that they were the various guys willing to give up aspects of their game for overall team success. Chris Paul single-handedly willed the U.S. to that victory over Spain, right? Wasn't that Chris Paul?
He made a couple big plays down the stretch. Those were two of the great lost moments in American basketball that nobody ever talks about or thinks about. Was in 2008, the team was ready to roll over, and Kobe stepped up. And then in 2012, there was like a 2-minute stretch there where I honestly felt like we were about to lose the game.
Me too.
They couldn't get LeBron back in. It just was Marc Gasol finally had come back in after having foul trouble, and it just felt like it was heading in the wrong place. And then LeBron and CP basically kind of saved it, was my recollection. All right, 2 minutes here. You get 2 minutes. I'm going to time it. Randy Wittman, just go.
Oh, I only need 30 seconds. It's dead man walking. The franchise has quit on him. The team has quit on him. And, honestly, it was a fair and best case scenario for him and the team to reward him in the off season for delivering what he was asked to deliver, which is to take a franchise that was moribund 3 years ago and bring some professionalism and sort of mind the store while they rebuilt and brought some talent in and they over exceeded expectations in the through the playoffs of last year. So they rewarded him with, the news stories say, a guaranteed contract of several $1 million. And it turns out that he's not up to the task of taking a team that is a playoff-ready team and bringing them up to a whole nother level, which was, we're supposed to be having a conversation about potential Eastern Conference final contender. They're not that, and he wasn't up to that task. And we had this apparition, this phantasm of the early season that was entirely attributable to two things: a schedule that was perhaps the most favorable schedule in the whole of league NBA through New Year's, and secondly, a complete over-accomplishment on long two-pointers that you've seen appropriately regress through the latter half of the season. And so, look, it was, they are who they are. He is who he is. It will be neat to see what a new coach is capable of next season.
I like that you're already talking about him in the past tense. You're not even in the playoffs yet. In the Wizards/Bullets, never in the playoffs, and you should be so much happier, and yet you're resigned. It's like you're driving off a cliff.
We're off the cliff. We've already crashed. When the news story begins with Wall and Wittman baffled by Wiz loss, there's nothing baffling about it. The car has crashed. Best case scenario.
We were emailing.
The crazy thing is they're most likely going to play a Toronto franchise that is in the same disarray that shares one interesting, curious common trait.
Yeah.
Right?
What, the fact that they ended up keeping their coach and maybe they shouldn't have?
that would be the trait I'm describing.
Well, and also Toronto decided for whatever reason not to make a trade at the deadline, which I thought was strange. They had expiring contracts and they had holes, and they just decided that they kind of punted. I don't think Masai believes in this team.
One of those two teams is going to win a first round playoff series.
Well, you have it. It's not out of the realm of possibility that it's Chicago in the 4 and Washington in the 5.
So if that comes to pass, I really like Washington's chances because
you match up well with them for whatever reason.
Yeah, and there is a singularity of purpose, not just the matchups, but the players genuinely regard it as a rivalry. You see out of Nene and you see out of Paul Pierce an intensity that is.
Well, I was going to say, it wakes up Nene.
It does.
Anything where Nene is awake is good for you.
He's been asleep for a little while.
Well, I've been watching a little more Wizards than I would normally watch because I love Paul Pierce. And, God, Wittman, I mean, the worst coaches in the league this year, just my personal opinion, Byron Scott and Derek Fisher. Byron Scott's been incredible. Derek Fisher, both of those guys have gotten free passes because they don't have the talent. But if you actually watch the games, like they've been really bad. Monty Williams is one for the ages in New Orleans. Just a possible 30 for 30 in the making. And then Wittman. I think that's Mount Rushmore for this year for shaky NBA coaches. But Wittman on Friday night, you're playing Charlotte. And I think the best thing about Wittman is he figures out a way to drag the other coach down to his level. Like the other coach is playing chess, but all of a sudden he's playing checkers and he doesn't even realize it, and he's doing checkers moves.
I did email you. I said, I'm not sure if you're aware, there was a Mensa meeting in D.C. Friday night between Clifford and Wittman.
Yeah, but Steve Clifford's not bad. In that game, he was atrocious. But
he was awful.
Wittman has this weird ability to suck people into his coaching vortex. I love it. Charlotte's running this play for Mo Williams. It's like a handoff play, and Washington's just completely flustered by it. Every time they're completely unprepared for the Mo Williams handoff play. And then on the flip side, Washington just has one guy dribbling at midcourt, either Beal or Wall, usually Wall. And the other 4 guys are just standing there. And the shot clock's just whittling down and whittling down. And then Gortat would run up and set somebody a pick. And it would be like this delayed high screen that the other team was waiting for 16 seconds. And that was your offense.
So
and neither of them could stop the other.
You don't like the John Wall taking the 1 foot, running 18-footer away from the basket off the high screen that comes with 6 seconds left in the shot clock, that's not your
No.
best case scenario for efficient offense?
It feels like Randy Wittman ran into Goldsberry in Austin and asked him, what's the worst shot I can take in a game, especially late? And Goldsberry said, well, it's tough. There's so many options, but my guess would be a running floater from the foul line with the player going full speed. That's a terrible shot. It could lead to a charge. The percentages are low. Really, nothing good could happen. And Whitman's like, done. That's our offense.
Well, I want to say one thing on the Mo Williams handoff. That is my single biggest frustration with this team. That 1A is what you just described, which is long two-pointers in general, which is something that Wittman, at least according to the news stories, who knows, but the news stories, even early in the season, say that every player on the Washington professional basketball team has the green light to shoot the open shots. So guess what? In this modern era, the open shot is an 18-footer, so Washington takes those relentlessly. But number one biggest pet peeve for me is that play you were describing with Mo Williams. I can't tell you how many guards this season, guards of varying level, skills, and abilities, have had their season-high best performance this season against Washington because of the mismanagement of the pick and roll. It's been impossibly frustrating to watch.
Well, I'll tell you, I was there with Doc Rivers before Thibodeau showed up. And Thibodeau showed up. We had Thibodeau show up, who's the most overqualified NBA assistant coach in the history of basketball. And then you had Kevin Garnett showed up, who is probably the best rim protector of that entire generation, right? Is there better? Maybe Mutombo? Who would you rather at anchoring your defense than Kevin Garnett from like 1998 to 2008?
KG was anybody? A little more mobile than Mutombo. I love KG.
Okay, so those two guys show up, and suddenly the Celtics know what to do on defense. But watching the Celtics try to defend the pick and roll pre-Thibodeau, I totally empathize. They had no plan. When your team has no plan defensively, and the same thing is happening over and over again, it's just helpless. Anyway, we went 8 minutes on Washington. We were supposed to only go 2.
And I said I was going to only need 30 seconds.
Quickly, MVP Curry.
Mine's still Harden. I've been on Harden all season long.
Golden State's going to win 69 games. You're not going to give it to Curry?
Yeah, because Golden State is the best player on a team that runs 10 or 11 deep. What does Houston have besides Harden?
I'm with you. Harden's probably more valuable to the day-to-day being of that team. But I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. I think when you're having a historically great season, which is what the Warriors are having, you have to recalibrate.
Okay. I'm not.
If the Warriors were 54-19 right now, I would agree with you. But they're going to go 68-14, and they're going to have a plus 11 point differential. And every game they play is over in the third quarter.
You'll never get me to
we have to reward that.
You'll never get me to knock Steph Curry. I love everything about him. I love everything about Golden State this season. I just would vote for James Harden for MVP this year. That's all. I
thought I would have been with you. In fact, when I did Trade Value Part 3, I had the slight edge to Harden, but left the door open for something magical to happen with the end of the Warriors season. They've won 9 straight. And what makes this nine-game winning streak special, in my opinion, is that they have nothing to play for. They've clinched everything. They have a 5-game lead on Atlanta. They have a 10-game lead on Houston. This is usually when teams kind of lose focus and start they're still killing people.
Well, that's where Steve Kerr comes in. You got to give it up for Steve Kerr, the guy who played on the 72-win team.
Right, and he's your coach of the year.
Yeah, deserves it.
And Draymond's, I think, defensive player of the year. I think he has to be.
So that's part of why I wouldn't give it to Curry, the MVP. I mean, nobody gets to the free throw. The James Harden getting to the free throw line this season has been so incredible to me.
Well, here's a couple more Warriors stats. 34-2 at home. So they're 5 more home wins away from 39-2 has only happened a couple times. I think the Cavs are the last team that did it.
Okay.
In like 08, 09, or 09, 2010, one of those. But you go 39-2 at home. The 95 Magic went 39-2 at home. By the way, we have a monster. You better save like the greatest bathroom trip you're going to make in 2015 for this oral history we have of the Shaq Penny Magic that's coming out from Abrams.
Oh, I can't wait. When is it coming out?
Next week.
I'm going to start eating beans now.
You should eat beans. You should have, whatever you need to do.
A lot of roughage. Kale.
Get ready. Maybe send your family out. Send your wife and child to see Cinderella or Home. Send them out. Get everyone out of the house. Get some candles going, and just really dive into this 35-minute epic Abrams thing.
Yeah.
All right. So then, Rookie of the Year. Wiggins? Is it still Wiggins? Stauskas?
Yeah.
Stauskas?
No.
Stauskas? Stauskas?
Stauskas? Stauskas.
I'm
not good at it.
I think Alfred Payton's lurking a little.
Well, they've gotten the best case scenario out of him. He's not the Rookie of the Year, but, good for them and good for him for turning the corner and showing everybody, why he was selected so high.
You talking about Wiggins or Payton?
Payton.
Yeah, I think he's number 2. I can't vote for him after not voting for Michael Carter-Williams last year under semi-similar circumstances. Now, Minnesota's not winning either. But I think Wiggins just in general it's felt like it's a little more important. There's some Mirotić Rookie of the Year buzz because he's had such a strong second half of the season, which is interesting.
He's really carried them. He's impressed me. I like his game a lot.
Yeah, if he has a strong last 2 weeks, it's like I think he's lurking a little bit.
Strong game, strong beard.
The problem with him is isn't he like 27? He's like 25. He's somewhere between 25 and 27, right?
Yeah, he's
like
somewhere in that age range.
He's not really a rookie.
No, I agree. Not really a rookie.
And then who do you have for your conference finalists?
Now, my conference finalists, we're talking about the guys that are the 4 teams or just 2 teams?
Give me 2 teams in each conference. The 2 teams that'll be there.
Cleveland and Atlanta and Golden State and San Antonio.
Wow, so you went chalk, basically.
Well, San Antonio is not quite chalk yet. They're still working their way back up, but the East, I just can't I can't come up with a scenario where Atlanta loses.
I think Atlanta's doing the best thing that they can do right now for our gambling. They're throwing people off their scent a little bit because they had clinched the 1 seed basically.
Yeah.
And now they're not going to finish that strong. They missed Mike Scott. I thought they're one of those teams that everyone has to be there. It's like one of those ensemble movies where you need all the actors in the movie. You can't just pull out Mike Scott. But I think when playoff time comes around and Cleveland's just going one-on-one the whole time and Atlanta's playing team basketball, I'm really hoping that Atlanta is plus 300 in that series. I have no problem backing them financially.
That's interesting. We'll have to look at that.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that.
Discuss it long and hard.
I think people just assume Cleveland is going to be in there. And
I think people are right. People should.
Well, they probably are because they're going to have the best 2 players in any series in the East unless they play Miami. But, it's weird, though, because I don't understand what happened to Memphis. And I admit I haven't seen enough of them to have a really fully educated opinion on it. But they tailed off. I thought they were going to be right there. I thought they were going to be in the San Antonio spot. I had a place penciled in for San Antonio in case they started becoming San Antonio. But
you mean 13-3 since the end of February?
Yeah, they're back. Parker showed up, and Kawhi's been Kawhi for about 2 months, and they look like San Antonio again. But Gasol has dropped off for Memphis. Jeff Green's been hit or miss, which hasn't been a surprise. But they're getting blown out of games, which worries me. Against good teams.
They had 3 games in a row against teams that matter and got whooped in all of them.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Me either.
That's a bad sign.
Me too.
That was happening to, I forget, maybe the Clippers a couple years ago. But yeah, their last 3, they got killed by Cleveland, Golden State, and San Antonio. Double figures each game.
Yeah. And not even competitive, it seemed. And I don't
Washington beat
know
'em by
what's going
20.
on behind the scenes either. I don't know if there's a critical injury, somebody's playing but hurt. There's something going on.
So you go back to February 11th. Oklahoma City beat them by 16.
Mm-hmm.
Clippers beat them by 18. Washington beat them by 20. Cleveland beat them by 22. Golden State beat them by 23, and San Antonio beat them by 14. That's just in the last 6 weeks. That's a bad sign.
Not a good run.
Yeah, I don't totally understand it. So, Golden State, San Antonio would be incredible, and Cleveland, anyone is going to be really fun. Cleveland's fun. Remember when Cleveland wasn't fun to watch for 2 months? Now they're really fun to watch.
That's why you have to let these things, give them time to gel.
All right, give me one
The trades
sleeper.
that Cleveland made were spectacular.
Yeah, I'm going to apologize yet again. I made fun of the Mozgov trade. Mozgov's been good for them. Did not expect it.
It changed their season.
Yeah, I don't totally understand it, and I don't know if he was that much of a factor why he wasn't better on Denver.
It can't hurt that he and David Blatt had a relationship, right? They speak the same language, and immediately it was seamless, his integration into that team.
Give me a dark horse. I know it's not going to be Dallas.
It is not going to be Dallas. I like the Clippers. I've been doing this for a couple of years now. I still like them. I still think that CP3 has it in him, and is just going to at some point in time, get over the hump.
I like that they're playing well right now. They've won 7 straight. They murdered the Celtics last night.
They also did really well in that time that Blake was out. Maybe found an identity, and him coming back with them has been good.
Yeah, it became Chris's team again. I think Blake played so well last year, there was a little bit of ambiguity, and now there isn't. It's Chris Paul's team. So if they get the 4 seed, which I think is going to happen, I think they're going to jump Portland. And then they also have a chance maybe to climb to 3. But if they're a 4 seed, you get to play Portland in round 1. I want to do that if I'm the Clippers.
And we like the Clippers-Golden State matchup, right? There's all that chippiness in there.
Yeah, it's very feisty. It's
going to be fun to watch.
And I will say, Chris Paul goes right at Steph Curry.
Yes, he does.
Just right at him. But I think Golden State has a lot of guys to throw at Chris.
Yeah, it's true.
And they'll get real physical with Blake. That's a great. I mean, if that's a round 2 series, holy.
It's lining up.
How great would that be?
It's lining up.
And then you might have. You're going to have, if San Antonio stays in the 6 spot, which if they keep winning, but it's going to be San Antonio against either Houston or Memphis. If it ended right now, that's either of those is a great round 1. But then followed by San Antonio would probably play, if Houston took care of business in round 1, then San Antonio would probably play Houston in round 2.
That'd be a great one.
An awesome series.
Yeah.
My theory in Houston is this. I think people are going to beat the crap out of Harden in the playoffs. I think he's going to wear down. The way he plays.
I didn't say Houston because we don't know what the story is with the Beverly injury. And Montejunas, who's pretty crucial to them, underrated crucial, is hurt too. I just don't like the injuries they have right now.
I don't either. And Harden, to do that for 90 to 95 games, what he's doing, I think it's just tough. I think that guy he's like a running back. It's like when DeMarco Murray had, 400 carries at the end of the regular season. I worry about that with him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was good. This was productive. Thanks for taking time out of your Jamaican vacation.
Nothing made me happier. Best player ever from Jamaica?
I know the answer to this. Who is it?
Patrick Ewing.
Yes, he counts. Yeah.
He was born in Kingston. He counts.
Yeah. Also from Jamaica, Malcolm Gladwell. Or I guess his mom was from Jamaica.
Oh, another great Jamaican.
Yeah,
hey, before we go, thoughts, love, prayers to Craig Sager.
Yes.
Right?
I back that 100%.
Okay, good.
Get well soon, Craig Sager.
Get well soon, Craig Sager.
That's it for Bill Don't Lie. Please subscribe to us on iTunes. This will never be available as a BS report again. NBA talk only next week. Zach Lowe, our old friend.
On
Monday. Joe House, a pleasure as always. Enjoy the tournament.
Bill, don't lie.